Hello, I am here to inform you. I suck at reviewing books. And you may be like, girl, what are you talking about? You do multiple videos a month where you talk about books for tens of minutes at a time. And that is accurate. But when it comes to arcs, I'm very bad. Also, I feel like maybe me holding this, like I'm talking to it like a mic. No, I don't think it will make it any better. I talk with my hands a lot and I hate it about myself. So that maybe talking to something would help, but I don't think that would do it. Anyways, books. Arcs. That's what this is. You may be like, how many arcs do you have out right now? The answer, 10. It's 10. 4 of them are not out until next year, like 3 of them in January, actually. You may be like, why not get ahead now, the ones that aren't out, which is cool, except I know I'll have like time in January. That's what I'm mood reading. It's fine. I can wait on those. Maybe I should read the ones that have been out for multiple months. I think one of them for multiple years. That is a long story for another time. There is so much to talk about here. I'm gonna try to read the other 6 in this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I partially through one of them, which we'll talk about in a minute. First, we gotta talk about, well, how did this happen? 1, I like requesting books. It gives me the same serotonin as buying books in the library. And I need what I can get of the happy brain juice. 2, what happened is that about a year and a half ago, I went through a cycle of just DNFing every single arc I got. I was not having a good time with arcs until it would have been September. Yeah, September of last year. I got one directly from the author. And I read it on like a plane, and I had a great time with it. It is one of the reasons why I did the one that I'm currently reading, actually, because that was a witchy romance, and even though I disliked the one witchy romance that everybody loved, the XX, I did like that one. So I thought maybe I'd like this one that I've already started, and I'm not liking. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And then so I was like, maybe it's cured, but maybe it's not. I got a couple more arcs from people, some from like other indie self-published authors. Read those ones and like those ones. Those are the ones I've been enjoying, which is funny because 2 of them I have right now are self-published, which makes me feel really, really bad. One of them's also a sequel that I haven't read the first book of. I'm like halfway through the first book. I would like to know, when I signed up for the arc, I did say, I haven't read the first one yet. I can read them both as soon as possible. So she didn't know when she sent it to me. It's fine. It's fine. And then somehow time passes. Usually I get denied because I am very bad at giving reviews in time, right? But somehow I keep on getting the FT Lukens. I don't understand. But I was scared of reading the new FT Lukens. I think it's like Love It. I want to say Love It Second Sight, but I don't know if that's right. Which is so funny because that's my second favorite FT Lukens. If you don't know me and FT Lukens, I love most of FT Lukens books. And I don't know how I keep on ending up getting FT Lukens is arcs, but I have for the past few years. And I want to say the last one, was it Spellbound? Last 2, really. But Spellbound, really, I was not the biggest fan of. I hate to say it was not my favorite. So I was scared to read the newest because I was like, but the last one by this author I didn't like. So even though this author has also written one of my favorite books, like, what do I do? And I put it off. And this is what's become my thing. I put it off so much until the book is out and I can get the audiobook from Libby, and then I read the book in like a day and had a really good fucking time. I don't know. And then like a month and a half ago, I realized how behind on arcs I am. Because I went and borrowed more or requested more, and it became like a bigger issue. I requested more and I got accepted for some of them, and here we are. It became, instead of being like 3 or 4 behind, it became I think it was like actually 3 or 4 total, and now I have 10 total and behind 6. It's become an issue. Could I talk about the one that I'm in the first book in the series that is not the book that I'm supposed to be reading? No, we're not gonna talk about that one. Just know that for a bit was my pre-bed reading book. I'm gonna make that my pre-bed reading book again because I think those books are conducive for that reading environment for me. Also, it is October now. I don't know when this is going up, but it is October now, and so those books fit more that vibe. There are vampires. I'll tell you which one that is when I talk about it, when I come to it. But now it's time to talk about the one that I'm actually like a quarter of the way through. I had to take a break because library loans got in the way, but I'm gonna get back into it, and that's Never Been Witched. I just thought something. I want to say Never Been Kissed. No, this is why we brought up the other witchy one that I read last year. That was exactly a year ago. Because that one was a witchy one, but like had some weird stuff with ghosts going on a little bit. And so I thought maybe because I like ghosts in books, I like haunted house in books, and I saw this one, and I saw haunted house. Like they have close proximity because the hotel he just acquired is haunted, and she's particularly good at the whole ghost thing when it comes to being a witch. So she's all like, "I'll help you out." And it helps out with the ghost issues, and you think I'd be into it. Here's the thing. This one is also a sequel. And when I went to request it, I saw, I don't remember if it was on Goodreads or if it was on NetGalley itself, but somewhere it said that it could be read as standalone. I do not agree with this. This isn't like your typical like romance where technically they're interconnected because the same characters are in the other ones, but like if it's been like 6 years and you don't remember the characters, don't worry about it. Like, it doesn't matter. This is like, yeah, it's the same characters, but also like the magic system has not been explained once in the 23% of this book that I've read. And it's very important to this book. I don't know what's happening 90% of the time. And also, the character dynamics of the female main character with everybody else, whose name I do not remember because it's been like a week since I picked up the book and I suck at names. And that's fine. Anyways, Anyways, all the character dynamics that she has, other than with the mailman character, because he's just moved back into town since forever ago. Actually, they live on like a small island, I think. But he's just moved back and bought this famous hotel and all this stuff. Right? And so they haven't like officially met before this, and this is like their official meeting. And she runs an antique shop. Listen, ghost stuff with antique shop. You know how much Ghost Whisperer I watched as a child? You know, the fact I'm not afraid of playing crushes after that season finale, just real miracle. Anyways, you know, the character dynamics, I don't understand any of them. Half these characters, I don't know how I feel like I need to get a character, like make a character chart and how everyone's connected, but I honestly don't know how to do it. Because there's like characters that are her best friends, but I think they have adopted children. But the adopted children are like actually like they're 20. Like they're like 20 instead of 30 is the thing. Anyways, female main character, grandparents. She was kind of like just pulled out of school, homeschooled by her grandparents, who aren't viewed the greatest by other people on the island, right? They spend most of the year off the island. She runs their antique shop. They are very specific about everything they want. Sometimes ghosts come in with their stuff, so she handles that as well. There is like the coven of witches that have a house, a manor thing, and she's close with the other members of the coven, but there's like this whole thing where all of them can see ghosts. But see, this is me trying to explain from what I've gathered from 23% of this book. All of them can see ghosts, but they all are supposed to have like a secondary power that's useful. And she hasn't figured out hers yet, which is suspicious. But on top of that, like the house, this whole thing is like protecting the coven, and she thinks her bond with the other witches is weakening because of her betraying them. It's not her fault. Hear me out. Many moons ago, in which there's this guy who is a sleazy lawyer, who one of the members of the coven inherited the witch house, right? I think this is like the last book, stuff that happened in the last book, like she inherited it. He was supposed to get into the house somehow or do something with the house, I don't know. But he was using the female main character, sleeping with her, and purposely using her, manipulating her to give him information about the house so he could try to break in and steal some witchy stuff. That could cause a war. I don't know. No, that's explained. I don't understand what any of that shit is. But what I do know is that he definitely did gaslight and manipulate her into giving her this information, and then she realized this, broke it off with him, and now he is getting actually very scary, like stalker scary, like trying to break down doors to get to her, level scary. Which is where we get to the main character. He does witness one of the instances where she's trying to get away from the other guy, and he's all like, and takes her away. Hires her for. Oh, right, he's redoing the hotel. Technically, his like ancestor built the hotel, but it hasn't been in the family for like generations. But he bought it so that he can bring it back to the family glory. It's like still named after the family. The last person who owned it was like a TikTok star or something like that, who like made everything like vibrant orange. So now he wants to make it more antique-esque, more like it would have been when it was built. So he goes to the woman with an antique store and with very clear knowledge about antiques. Listen, my favorite part was the stuff where she talks about antiques. Okay, thank you very much. Anyways, he hires her for that, right? And she very quickly notices ghosts in the hotel. And there is an infatuation on both their parts. And so I think it's just going to be like her helping him with this will help her figure out stuff with ghosts, but also figure out her personal journey. I don't know. I'm not liking it. And I think 3/4 of the issue is because I should have read all the previous books. I don't know what number this is in the series or anything like that. This is definitely cannot be read as standalone. Okay. So I think that's 3/4 of the issue. I think the other quarter is just blatant confusion that could be because of that, or just me being confused because of the way it is written in general. So that's that. Could I DNF it? Yes. But spooky month. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it another good try. And then if I DNF it, I DNF it. And then we move on to another one. I have at least one gay one that's already been due. I have multiple gay ones that are due in January, but it's a bunch that I should have had done at least 2 months ago. So it's fine. I'll find one. It's fine. Oh, hi. I finished. Well, what's the name of that book? She's right here. Never Been Witched. Multiple days ago. Skin condition came back. We figured out what did it. But my eye. This one, it's just this one. I'm so far back. It's fine. It's not noticeable anymore. Anyways, I finished it. 2 stars. I do understand that this is probably a 3-star if you ignore my annoyance with everything in the book. That being said, the romance itself wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. And there was a ghost murder mystery that lasted like 20 minutes of my life. But while I was there, I enjoyed it. I think the issue is that I've surrounded it by books with similar aspects and enjoyed them more. Like a book with this similar romance, a book with similar like ghost murder mystery aspect, and I liked both of those more than this one. So that's it. I do want to be noted that I did laugh really hard when I realized the plot of the book, outside of like all the weird stuff that is like the end of the series, coming to this big finale that I was just saying like whatever. The whole plot of their relationship essentially. So is her name Alice, and his is Colin. I remembered this for multiple days for this. Thank you. You're welcome. I know it doesn't mean it. Anyways, Alice deals with her toxic manipulative grandparents who raised her after her mother's death. And then Colin deals with his toxic manipulative aunt and uncle who took care of him for a year after his parents died. And then the stuff with her toxic ex came to a culmination. And then literally the next chapter, literally the next scene, is his toxic ex showing up. Bella, do I need to open up the door for you? And that did make me laugh. I also did enjoy how the third act breakup did happen because she has been dealing with very similar things, and she has been actually dealing with him. And he's dealing with his aunt and uncle kind of, but then his ex shows up. And he, in a split moment decision, doesn't want to make either one of these women feel bad. But in the process of trying to ease the way for the ex, he puts Alice in second place, which she's been in her whole life, essentially. And so she gets, and he understandably triggered, and he understands this. And then she comes to the realization of, like, hey, I'm at the point of my personal journey that I could do this, and you can't, therefore we're not at the same point of the personal journey. And he has to prove that he is there, and he's willing to be there with her. And that, I did enjoy. So there are positives. Okay. I did also understand why I don't think I like witchy romances, which is I've realized the one witchy romance I've enjoyed is the one where he is not human. He's also some magical creature. And then I was thinking about it, I realized the Kraken split, because I was like, well, is this also a thing in monster romances that I read? And the Kraken, the most obvious one that I enjoyed was the Kraken split. That, whatever. I'll talk about it sometimes. She is a witch in that one, so I like it generally if both of them are magical creatures of some kind, not if just one of them, because then it seems to have a power imbalancing, and I don't enjoy that. And it feels like they try to do this whole thing where, like, okay, yeah, there's this whole power imbalance thing, but, like, also he's her boss technically, so technically there's a power imbalance there, so, like, see, it's fine. But, like, right? Also, like, you know, the synopsis does plainly talk about the haunted hotel being an important aspect of this book, and it is barely there. And that's why I picked it up. Another main reason why I'm annoyed. Anyways, I don't know which book I'm going to pick up next for this. I don't know when that's going to happen. At some point, probably. I read it to start to move on with my life. I wrote a review. I took a beautiful picture outside in the fallen leaves for Instagram. The end. Hello, I'm here after 9 p.m. I have to wash my hair, but I'm drinking chocolate to inform you that my plan was to reach 50% in the next one, which is Treachery of Swans. I'll talk about why I want to read that. Hold on a second. I want to read half. I got to 34%. The reason I got this far is because a queen has like 16 emails and therefore has 16 Amazon accounts, and so inevitably one of them I'll be able to do an Audible free trial on, and I did that to get. It was between that or Everend, and I hate Everend more. The active read on Everend is worse, and I don't know with audiobooks and me recently where audiobooks feel slower but YouTube feels faster. I don't know what that's going on with, but I've been listening at 4 times speed, and that's like fine. Yes, I am listening to the published version while I read along on my Kindle with the ARC version. Shush. This is the second book by A.B. Pornick. The first one was a favorite of this year. What is it? I know this because I talked about it for like 30 minutes today. Where the Dark Stands Still is what it is called. It is a great book. I loved it. It was very much slight Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it was very like woodsy, witchy, fantasy, found family, magical house with its own personality, but with a lot of Polish folklore and setting, and it was great. I loved it. It made me cry. The ending I'm obsessed with. It was 5 stars. So when I heard the male main character, and that one was confirmed bisexual. So when I heard that they were coming out with a new book this year, it's a retelling of Swan Lake. That's what it is. Swan Lake. What in case you're wondering, no, I don't only know it from the Barbie Swan Lake. No, I know it because I also did ballet as a kid, and so I also had to learn it because of that. Anyways, it's really fun when you remember that 90% of the knowledge I have about Swan Lake is either from Barbie, in which she's dancing all the time, or me dancing. So every time they're doing something, I'm just imagining them dancing, and this makes sense now in my head. Anyways, it's a retelling atmosphere fantasy based off of Swan Lake. Immediately, it was interesting in the aspect that because the Overdue, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who is the owl, who steals the identity of the swan and all this stuff, she has a background as an actress in order to practice pretending being other people so she can like steal their identities, and all this. We'll explain why in a minute. But also here's the other thing, like, so it's set up instead of chapters, it's like scene blank, setting blank, which is fun. But you have to, the other thing about A.B. Pornick's heritage is that she is from Ontario, Canada, so there's some French in there too, probably. So everyone's French. It's just fancy friends, which is fine, except all the character names, I'm just sitting here like, and it's so funny. The narrator does a great job, and I think based off her last name, she may have some French in her as well, right? So it's like a normal, I think, British accent, maybe not British, but typical average accent. It's not too unexpected for me, middle of Vermont, to hear. For some reason, French would be interesting for me to hear, despite the fact that I'm right there to Canada. It's like right there. So not too interesting with accent, pretty normal. And then all of a sudden there'll be a French word, and it's just perfect pronunciation, as far as I can tell. I never took French. I'll pull it up from my sister. No, perfect pronunciation, with a French accent, and I'm just sitting there like, so every time it takes me out for a second there, but that's why I recommend the audiobook, because she does a great job doing that. And two, it makes the reading experience better, because I did try to read like just the first chapter alone with just my eyeballs, and I couldn't get through it because I was like, I don't know how to pronounce any of these names, right? So that made it easier. Anyways, Odile, again, works as a actress to do this. The night that this book starts on, her adoptive father, who has clearly been manipulating her whole life, has been promising to teach her magic if she gets him a bunch of stuff to get him magic, and then he uses those magic abilities to make it so that she can steal the identity of the swan, right? Does it say in the Marie? Marie is her name, is the swan. So she's to like steal the identity of Marie and get engaged to the prince so that she can get close to the crown that all of magic for the most part is based in, and so that she can steal the crown and give it to him, and then he'll teach her magic. But like, clearly he's not trustworthy. He's definitely like I was gonna say he's only emotionally abusive. No, it's been shown multiple times in her childhood, but also current day, in being physically abusive as well to get his way from her. But then the king dies. She's like day 2 of the plan, right? Nobody likes the swan, Marie. It's hinted because of it, all this stuff, and I'm like, it's totally because she's right. That's why. And so there's like a bunch of controversies with her, but the prince is in love with her already, and so it makes it easy for her to pretend to be her and do that. Also, Marie was always called the swan, but now they turned her into a literal swan so that she could steal her identity. And as a swan, she witnessed the murder of the king, and the person who they blame the murder on, despite the fact that his half his ribs gone, half his torso just chewed out, and Ian, his arm was like chewed on. There's like a bunch of bite marks. It's like all clawed out. Right, so clearly not stabbed, but that's like the story they're telling. The person who they say stabbed him is, I think his name's Damien, who is Odile's actual biological brother, as far as I know. I think because she has gold blood and therefore magic, and he doesn't, I assume they're half siblings. Because the way it was explained, it was like her mother was taken away and killed when she gave, I assume that's what happened when she gave birth, because she had gold blood, and like you're gonna believe when you're giving birth, right? And so, and magic's illegal, and all this stuff. So I'm assuming the reason why the story they told was false, and evil dad also gave her an explanation why, and I'm assuming that's also false. Also want to know if I have a theory that he's actually her biological dad. Anyways, so there's like, she's trying to help the good-for-nothing prince to try to become king, because if that happens, she can be queen, and make stealing the crown easier, but also try to get her brother no longer framed for murder, even though he like betrayed her and abandoned her, according to her, but I assume the evil dads lied to her, right? And then, but also there's kind of like a flirtation with Marie, who she has to turn briefly human to help her, but she's like knocked out of magic because she has no training, so she turns back at dawn. So I'm thinking she's like very Shrek Fiona-esque, where during day she's a swan and during night she's a girl again. They gotta work together to figure out what's happening. My guess is the uncle who summoned the monster to kill the king, right? And she kind of like is at the point where she kind of feels bad for the prince, because it's like everybody is like manipulating him, but he's just able to like calm everybody down in a way that he could be, if he had the right queen, a good ruler. And then there's also the whole fact that the 2 female leads have a history of some kind as kids, and that's part of the reason why she also wants to steal the crown, because I think it was false. If I had to guess, it was falsified that she stole a necklace that Marie gave her, and so they kick her out and throw her out, and call her a bunch of mean names or whatever, and bada bing bada boom. This book, and also her being raised by abusive man, who also, I just remembered this whole aspect where he essentially, in order to get her to steal things from different men, has her sleep with those men. Like, it's described as slimy old middle-aged men, and she's like 18, if that. Yeah, that's that doesn't feel good. Anyways, on the moral story is I'm disappointed. This is why I kept on pushing it off, because I was worried I wouldn't like it as much. With no context, I thought I wouldn't like it as much because I loved her first book, and lo and behold, I don't like it as much as the first book. It's probably gonna be a 3.5. Like, it's just meh. It's fine. It's whatever. I'll try to finish it tomorrow. But that's my thoughts and opinions. I'll update you when I finish it with what I actually rate it. Goodbye. I don't know how this is gonna be fast, because when I just wrote the review 2, my hype's gonna be 3. I assume so. If it clears up, that's why. I finished A Treachery of Swans. 3 stars. Listen, honestly, if you think better from the last update, it was gonna be the last update. The only update. My initial thoughts. It was gonna be a 3-star. It was very mid. Honestly, the fact that majority of the book, I was more on the princess side, they're like out here conspiring and like also helping each other out and like finding and all this stuff, and the prince is out here just being used and abused by everyone. Like, this is a book of like 4 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. I don't know how old they are. 2 of which are siblings. I guess they were completely biologically related. I thought they were going to be only half siblings. But the 4 of them, all being children of abusive people in which one way or another, being manipulated by these abusive people. The oldest which is the main character, Odin's brother Damien, getting out of it before anybody else. Wow, we love that for him. And he helps, I want to say Emil, but I feel like that's wrong. That's the prince. Him deal with his, but also try to help his sister. But he also abandons her multiple times and calls her a villain, like a bunch of mean things, and acts surprised when she wanted him to, like, she didn't want him to actually leave, but he was saying all those things about her. Like, dude, obviously, dude. So she could, it would have been harder for her to be manipulated if you weren't just a fucking dumbass. I think he was like 17 at the time, but God. Anyways, it's all these people dealing with all that, and trying to get through that to save the world, and bonding over that. I think it's hinted that the prince and Damien are like a thing, but listen, the prince is the one who is legit cursed to turn into a monster. His father, he technically kills his own father because of his uncle, and his stepmother has been secretly poisoning him to keep his monster at bay, and he knew like none of this, and also like his father was abusive, like physically and emotionally as well, and so it's just like, and then this whole book, he thinks he's not falling in love, as far as I know, he's not falling in love, but he has a close friendship with who he thinks is Marie, but is actually Odile having an identity of Marie, and then when he learns everything, he's like, oh fuck, and has like a day and a half to get over it, because he's a monster and he's gotta help them break the crown to save the world, you know. I can't believe I'm on the side of the man in this one. I am. Anyways, sadly this one was not for me. I will be patiently waiting the next time, poor Nick, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, comes out with another like woodsy, close-knit, smaller fantasy, because apparently that's for me, but not this one. Yeah, I was kind of bored for most of it. The one thing is that I've learned, it's happened 202 times, is the ending, there's some big gravitas thing that happens, and then it's, this one is, there's an epilogue. I remember when I was trying to get my hands on an audiobook, seeing people be like, there's gonna be a second one, and I really, before I read the epilogue, that it was gonna possibly be, the first book, right? Because of how it ended, and it was like setting up this whole like series type thing, and it was just an epilogue where it's like, oop, years have passed, she's back, save the day again, and they're making out. Anyways, apparently it's this dig into her books where it's this devastating thing that happens at the end of the book. If you know, you know. And in Where the Dark Stands Still, that one is more open-ended of whether or not they could be happily ever after in the end. And in my headcanon, they are. So apparently it's just staying in her books. I'm fine with that. It's fine, 3 stars. I'm sad and disappointed, and I'm just gonna go read a different book, A Clash of Kings, technically, and take a bath for my poor hip. Goodbye. Hello, hi, I'm totally not streaming right now in case you hear the computer. It's the speaker. I got a clicker thing since I last talked to you. I got a clicker thing to, auto for the pages, so I use the speaker. It's the perfect angle to just hold my Kindle. What book am I reading? That's a good question. Bella, do you know Curse of Blood and Sight, by Amy Prokopis? What I'm about to say is bad news, because I have another book by her on the list. Also, it's been so long doing this that there's now 2 separate videos I can do of this, of me reading arcs past when they came out, because I'm so behind in them. I've made a personal rule. Okay, here we go. I made a personal rule that I can't request any new arcs until I have caught up with all of them, which includes arcs for people whose books I really love. And like, there's like this indie author or self-pub author that I really love. The only arc in like past 6 months, that I have reviewed in time of its release is her book, right? Her 3rd book. So any of her books, I can't do. Another author I really like, her witchy books, which is a rare thing for me. I have already applied to her arc, actually, so that one's excused. But the new FT Luke has been added to NetGalley, Annie Katie Robert, like all these books I'm excited to read. I can't apply to the arcs until I finish all these books. That's how I'm gonna get myself to read them. Anyways, Curse of Blood and Sight is the sequel. Remember, so many moons ago, multiple months ago, it is now 2026, when I said that there was a book that I had to read before I could read another one, because it was the first book in the series, and this was the sequel. Yeah, no, this is the sequel. The first one I gave like 3 stars. It was fine. The first half was not as good as the second half. One thing I will give the author is that she can write in a way in which I want to say, for the first 20%, I did feel it. I feel it now. Kind of not liking it. But the feeling of time passing as I read. Like, I accidentally last night read, like, nearly 50 pages in my bath in, like, half an hour. I looked at how much I'd read in the time, and I went, I'm sorry, what? It's, like, 10 minutes to midnight, and I accidentally read, like, 50 pages. Anyways, I'm halfway through, and I don't like it. I've gotten to the point where I slightly skim reading sometimes. What is this book about? Angel is a vampire. Yes, I assume Buffy references. Lily is a rich girl who's going to NYU for classical music, right, who lives in New York City. She comes across him because he saves her from being assaulted in the first book. We don't need to talk about it. How the first prop for this book actually has content warnings in the beginning. Okay, hear me out. Anyways, and then they start up a relationship. It's her first like real serious boyfriend, so she's dealing with that aspect. Near the end of the book, we learn things. Clearly, it's gonna be spoilers for this one because right. Or spoilers for that one because this one's a sequel. Is what I'm trying to say. Basically, she's a seer, which normally is my type of thing, right? And he's leaving to go off on a search for the cure to vampirism. Within like 2 chapters, he's already back in this one, right? They go to New Orleans. They're in New Orleans to find the cure to vampirism. She now has a new friend who I do like better, who is a New Orleans witch, who is the granddaughter of the original woman who came up with the cure for vampirism, right? And so now he has finally all the ingredients, and so he's like trying back up, but she has dementia, so they're like working together to try to figure this out, while also Lily tries to figure out her seer powers. All that stuff is interesting in theory. Here's the issue: their relationship. It wasn't as like there were a few moments in the first one. I can remember the first one, my least favorite moments being the times when he would like make her eat because she has an eating disorder or she just forgets to eat sometimes. Both are true. And so he like cooks for her constantly and all this stuff, and he's like very much strong arms her into eating a lot and all this stuff. So in this one, that's the thing. But also because of everything that happens in the end of the first book, he now constantly tracks her phone. He gave her a necklace saying it was a ruby necklace, but actually it's his blood. There's gonna be dogs. I made dinner. Family chaos happened. I made 30 minutes of break of filming this, and in that time I made my dinner, which is just leftover pasta, homemade marinara from yesterday, and garlic bread, which is right here, which is why the dog's right here. Anyways, I was saying that the ruby necklace is actually his blood to send her, so other magical creatures know that she is his, right? Basically, the matter of this story here, the main issue here is that he is very controlling, domineering. Am I using that word right? I don't know. And she is meek. She is so meek that her nickname is Mouse. I'm just gonna leave that there. Anyways, Nova, who is the best friend, the black best friend, right? In this one, I think her name's Nova. Listen, okay, there was a Anna is a lesbian best friend from the first book who I really hated for so many reasons. So yeah, I think Nova's the one in this book, right? And I see that they just met like 2 days ago with their best friends. Anyways, I mean, I can say she did stop her from being stabbed with a knife, so I guess that would make you best friends. Anyways, what is happening is that Nova at one point makes a joke, like notices how controlling he is, and makes a Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey joke about it. Which I'm just saying, if a friend, like she did put feelers out to make sure it wasn't toxic first, and then once it was obvious that, I said when she knew it was obvious, like when Lily was like, no, it's not toxic, and explained the situation, but also before that to like make a point that this was happening, also compared him to Christian Grey. So I guess no, she was already comparing him to Christian Grey. Anyways, where I'm at is become he's very dominant in the bedroom now because he thinks that as a person who is constantly anxious and meek, she needs a place where she can just let go and have somebody take control. Which, as a bitch with anxiety, I don't think that's how it works. First of all, second of all, I vividly remember in the first book, it took a long time. I say a long time. He kept on being like, I can't sleep with you, and then all of a sudden they were sleeping together. I was like, oh, okay. Like I did not expect that. Like 5 pages early, he was like, I can't sleep with you for like the 20th time. Because if he were to let himself go in any which way, his monster form, because that's another thing, vampires aren't like glitter and sunshine, they're like actual monsters, like picture Buffy the Vampire Slayer, yep. So he's afraid that the monster form will come out, if he lets himself go, which, if he were to be with her, would happen. Anyways, so that happens, so hear me out, reading about the meek, shy, 20-year-old, 21, I guess she could be 21. I don't remember what college year it is. It's summer before college semester, right? The fall semester. So I think it's her senior year that she's about to enter. So she could be 21, right? She was drinking alcohol at a bar. So I'm going to say she's 21, right? It's her first serious relationship, and he's controlling. Can you see my issues here? I don't like it. The plot, lore stuff is a little bit more interesting, which is a good sign for the other book by the same author, by Amy that I have. Because that one is a fantasy with romance subplots, right? I think. It may be romancy. It may be more romancy than I think, but it's at least considered a fantasy, right? So that's good news for me, because there's a chance that without Angel and with more weird magic stuff, I will enjoy it more, right? I say that I'm gonna leave that for the second book. I kept on contemplating whether or not, because these are the 2 books that are self-published, right? And so I felt worse about these 2. But I decided officially, because of my not liking this book, I'm gonna just wait on that one a little bit to give myself space, because I think I finished the first one in the series like 3 months ago, if that. That is how long. Yeah, I've been filming so long. Anyways, I did think, as like I was making dinner and whatnot, I did think of another positive, which clearly I have no say in this because I am very white. But with the character of Nova, I was worried when they were going to New Orleans to find a witch to cure his vampirism. I was worried it was going to be like the token black magic woman to fix all their issues, and now they're happily ever after, right? Except I mean, yeah, it makes sense if you're going to New Orleans to see a witch. It makes sense for them to be a black witch. I get it. I get that. And then also, it doesn't feel like she's a side character. Like, I think the amount of time she spends between Nova and Angel is about split even, because when she's with Angel, it's like only sex scenes. She's having more in-depth conversations with Nova than she is with her own boyfriend, right? Like, and she is helping Nova out with her situation as well, because there's a whole bunch of political stuff with the witches, and how her grandmother, who is one of the like most powerful witches known, right, who found the cure for vampirism, has dementia. And she has to be the caregiver for her grandmother as going to, like, she's also going to college. I think she's 21, right? She's going to college herself, right? Also in a creative field. So they, like, have that connection, Lily and Nova do. But she is dealing with the fact that her grandmother has dementia. She is her caregiver because her own mother died of breast cancer recently. And her grandmother keeps on thinking that she's her mother. And so she's dealing with the recent grief of her mother, also dealing with the grief of watching her grandmother slowly disappear as her grandmother thinks that she is her mother. So, like, the grief can't, like, heal at all. It's just constantly a fresh wound being reopened. And that is, like, a whole thing in her character that is, like, really important to the book. Like, am I annoyed? They finally get some answers about the cure to vampirism, and then, like, almost immediately they run into issues in which, oh, it's gonna take us longer than expected. Yes, but because I just wanted this book to get over with, that's why. But I do like the fact that Nova's here, because she is a breath of fresh air. Oh my god, let me tell you. Anyways, I think this one's gonna be 2 stars. I'm gonna finish it tonight. I'm not just letting myself sleep until I finish it. It is 9 p.m. now. I'm gonna eat my dinner. That's the only break I'm giving myself. I'm gonna eat dinner, walk my dogs, and then I'm gonna finish it. So I'll let you know when that happens. Probably tomorrow morning. I'm gonna be honest. When I finish it tonight, I'm not gonna be in the mood to tell you about any of it. I'm gonna be dead to the world. I'm already half dead to the world, right? And it's 9 p.m. So goodbye. That is the plan. I guess I'll talk to you in the morning. I just remembered to have tea that's steeping. Oh god. I'm gonna go grab that soon. Anyways, different top layer. I finally cleaned this one. That's what happened. Anyways, I finished book. 2 stars, and I'm here to tell you something that I realized something. There was another ARC review that I saw, right? I feel bad about giving it 2 stars though, because, like, and hear me out, it does have like under 20 ratings on Goodreads. I feel really bad. Like, I'm gonna be the lowest rating. But also, the issues I've brought up, imagine my chocolate sugar face, not really. When he does something where he lies again to her and is controlling and apologizes, and then she, at least this time she is like, hey, a little bit more. We need some distance a little bit. Like, I still love you, but, like, what the fuck, I did? Especially since this one deals personally with her. And one of the people who, like, attacked and, like, tortured her and whatnot at the end of the first one. So, you know, she's validly upset about him lying about one of them being gone. Right? And so, yeah, that happened a few more times. I went, sure, Jan, okay, this is no surprise. Okay, I'm just gonna sit here, I guess. Same issues with the romance. It's fine. Like, I get that that's a me personal issue. Like, I was explaining it to friends on Discord, and they were like, no, that sounds like my type of book. So they're gonna go pick it up now. So there's that. But anyways, currently the lowest rating on Goodreads is another ARC reader who I have had an issue with these books. The first one a little bit, this one a lot more. And I couldn't put my finger on it, which is why I was so annoyed reading the book. And so, like, the second half was less annoying because I read this last night. Also, I lied to you, I did not finish last night. I didn't read any more last night. I went to bed at 10:30. Wild. I usually go to bed at like midnight. Anyways, if I had gone to bed at midnight, I would have finished it, but no. Anyways, so there's other review. I saw this other review and then it clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, that's my issue, because they bring up this aspect for the sexual scenes in the book, which is a complaint I made for the first one in this video. But, like, now, like, I've realized that's, like, my overall issue with the book, and that's why I was annoyed all the time. And that is, and I quote, this felt rushed, like it was just dropped in without much build-up. Which is true. Like, I brought this up in the previous update, when I said I was reading it, that happened when the first time they bangling, right? And that's even, like, every single sex scene, but, like, all the time in this book, right? Like, another example is, because they're taking this, like, she's taking a little bit of space from Angel, she's hanging out with Nova, who later on, she calls her best friend. They say they're each other's best friends. Girl, you have a best friend back home. What the hell is happening? Anyways, also, you've known each other for like a week, if that. Anyways, you know, they're just hanging out, and then all of a sudden, actually, no, they're making a YouTube video, like a high-quality YouTube video and music video. Like, there's not a lot of build-up for anything, character-wise, whether it is just normal conversations, the sex scenes, them doing anything, them just showing up in New Orleans had slightly more build-up, but, like, you know, one second they're in New York City, the next they're in New Orleans. I feel like that takes more than one night to drive, but that's how it's written. That she just fell asleep and woke up and they were in New Orleans. I get he's a vampire so he can drive 24/7, but, like, no. The one thing that it still has a little bit, but is nowhere the same issue, is the lore, and the actual plot aspect, right? So, like, that's why I like it, and that's why, like, that's the parts I like, right? And why I think the other book by her, I think I will enjoy, because if that one's more fantasy, and that seems to be the parts of her books that I enjoy, then hear me out, maybe I will enjoy the one that's mostly fantasy, right? But another issue I had is, okay, we gotta talk about this. Essentially the end battle fight, blah blah blah, very similar to the one, not completely similar, but very reminiscent of the end of the first book, right? And the whole entire reason it happens is because something that makes absolutely zero sense. We were explained very early on in their time in New Orleans that this witch covenant they're hanging out with, one, there are like magical laws that make it so that if you are staying at this apartment building of witches, which they are, especially Lily, because Lily, you know, because of their space whole thing, because of him lying, he's like actually kicked out of the apartments, right? And so she's still there, and the coven lets in this woman that he is another magical creature, but that he had kidnapped and had locked up in a warehouse and was continuously feeding from. Her thing is that she's like immortal, she constantly reheals, right? So she would be fine, right? Right? And so this is the issue. And this could be spoilers end of book 1, but essentially they kick him out. This is the whole thing that he's lying about to her. Right? They kick him out because he did that, which sure, okay, and let Olivia, the woman, move in. Except Olivia, hear me out. Their history with Olivia is, let me check my notes. She was one of the people who helped in the kidnap and torture and also continual sexual abuse by her brother's hands against Lily in the previous book. Right? And so that happens, but also there's a whole point where again Olivia takes part in her kidnapping again, and they get in this whole tussle again, and they're literally stabbing each other multiple times, and nothing happens. Like the witches show up afterwards, after like Lily's been tortured and Angel's been tortured a bunch and kidnapped and taken to the secondary location. They show up, and the person who let Olivia in is like, oops, sorry. But the whole entire reason all this can happen, all the stuff that happens at the end of the book, I'm not gonna go into why Olivia's doing this or who she's working with, but the whole reason all this is happening is because all these rules and laws that were set up for the witch coven were ignored for Olivia, and then Olivia breaks all the rules on top of that and laws that are like they're not magically. It makes no sense. And that yeah, anyways, 2 stars. I don't know what I'm gonna write for the review, so I will figure that out. In the end, I'll update you when I've read another one. We've read 3 for this video, I think. Yes, because there was the witchy one earlier. Anyways, that's that. Am I continuing the series? Because I think there's supposed to be a 3rd one this year. No, I'm officially doing nothing in the series. I'm not into the Angel and Lily relationship. I'm not even into reading Lily's character. I saw a thing recently because Bridgerton season 4 is coming out soon. As of me recording this is again how long this video is taking me. And so people were talking about season 3 again and about how Colin is not an easy character to follow for a whole entire season because he's just like the nice guy. And that's very Lily coded. She's just like the nice girl. She's the sweet, nice next door neighbor type girl who's also super rich. The end, like, she doesn't have much of a character other than being in love with him, and I don't like the relationship. Like, it's one of those things, one of those memes on Threads that's like, it is canon in your early 20s as a woman to fall for the emotionally distant bad boy, who kind of treats you shitty but makes you feel exciting, and don't fall for it. Like, one of those memes. It feels like one of those memes. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees those memes. maybe it's only in my threads. But yeah, it gives that. And hear me out. I don't want to read it. Bada bing, bada boom. The end. I don't know what else to say. I'll update you when I read another one. I have like so many. I'm waiting for my new notepad to come in so that I can like make a new list of the arcs that I gotta read so I can cross them off properly. Hopefully that comes in the next week. But I have plenty of options. That's for sure. Hello. I have wet hair because I just washed my hair. I'm wearing Baby Yoda pajamas. Right? And I'm about to clean my glasses. But I have such strong opinions about this book. I'm only 5% in. That I have to talk about it. And this is the one that I was possibly second most excited for. Just because of the cover alone. Bride of the Crimson Queen. Obviously, the redhead, the Crimson Queen. Also, she's a vampire. I have such strong opinions. I'm gonna clean my glasses real quick. But I usually, when I do my hair, while I wash my hair, it has to sit for about the same amount of time that my face mask has to sit. My face mask is a few more minutes, so I do that one first. Right, put that on first. But when that happens, I read, like usually a chapter or 2 of a book. So I decided to continue this one. Right, makes sense. I started earlier today, and I got so mad I had to put it down. And normally. Okay, so like normally I'd like maybe try for 10%, but 1 based off of reviews. I'm not the only one. 2, everything filmed before this for this video was before my mother died. I am currently in the mindset of if it's not bringing me joy, it's not worth my time. This was making me angry. Okay, listen, positives, the cover 2, it can go with The Witcher season 4, among things that are written in such a way where whenever I have self-doubt about my own writing, I can look at that and be like, but at least I'm not this. And that sounds mean, and I feel mean. I feel slightly bad because, like, the whole thing of me finishing A Curse of Blindsight, I probably would have rated this one the same. But I decided to DNF this one, despite this one also being indie self-help. This is also the one that's been on I've had for the longest. It's from 2021, but it was like 2 years ago that I got it from NetGalley, as auto approval, just because the cover, I saw it was gay in that cover, and I went, yes, give it to me, and I should have read up about it, but, you know, alas. Anyways, I did initially feel bad, but then I remembered, when I looked up the author, that, the cover does say volume 1, there's no sequel. Again, it's been 5 years at this point, there's no sequel. In fact, there's been, like, no other books since then, I believe. She has 2 other books on her Goodreads page, but I'm pretty sure those came out before this one. Like, alright, like, I don't think this is affecting anybody, nobody's reading it anyways, and even if they were going to look it up, they'd see that the Goodreads rating is something like 2 point something. I will check that, actually. I know the story, listen, I know it was going to be interesting when I looked at Storygraph, and the Storygraph average rating is a 1.98. Right? Like, I'm sorry. A 2.97 is what it has. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I'm DNFing at 5%. There are 2 main reasons why. 1, the writing. 2, a plot point. We'll get to the plot point later. Because I didn't get that far, but from context clues and reviews, I can figure out what's happening, what's clocking here. Anyways, the writing of this book is, this book should be called Exposition, the book. Because that's all this whole book has been so far. I read 5%. I'm more than a chapter in. My eczema, I forgot I was having allergy issues. That's why my eczema is breaking out on my hand. Oh my god. No worries, it's just my skin on my hand peeling off. Anyways, this book, exposition. Not only exposition, but, like, nobody knows what internal thoughts are. They just say everything. The main character, specifically, will, instead of, like, she'll have internal thoughts and then just say the thing. My perfect example on explaining what the hell this book is, what's happening with the writing, is there's a point where the only man, there are 2 men we know of this in this universe at this point, and it is the mayor and her best friend's brother. She goes and looks at the bulletin board, and a guy around her age, a little bit older than her, comes up behind her and starts talking to her in a familiar way. Context clues. That is her best friend's brother. But don't worry, because as soon as he walks up behind her and says something to her, she says, essentially, I don't know the exact quote because I'm not going to remember it, but she essentially says, I know you're my best friend's brother. Like, right? Also, the whole reason why he walked up behind her and started this conversation with her is because right before this was, like, literally the line before this was a giant paragraph of her exposition dumping about the reward for killing the vampire queen, Crimson Queen lady, right? That instead of saying internally in her head, which she did do for a little bit of other exposition, which was making me roll my eyes already, she says out loud, and then he comes up behind her and says a reply, and she's like, I know you're my best friend's bigger brother, but that's what's like, for at least the 5% I've read. Anyways, it's not well written. And then, my understanding of the main, relationship, between her and the Crimson Queen, obviously from the cover and whatnot, is that her best friend, is one of the hunters, monster hunters who goes after the Crimson Queen. She is taken by, being bitten, blah, blah, blah. And so she has to, in order to get her best friend back, and her best friend isn't a vampire, and under control of vampires, other vampires, she has to kill the vampire who bit her, right? And somehow runs into the Crimson Queen, and I don't know exactly what happens. I could look at reviews. Maybe I will. Okay, apparently, based off of reviews, apparently, it's a love triangle between Kami, who's the main character, the vampire lady, and another hunter, who, in chapter 5, tries to sexually assault her. And then she spends the rest of the book, despite this being a sapphic romance, which she's supposed to be, like, the idea of this sorceress who's never lived up to what her mother was, like, her mother was a super powerful sorceress, and she's, like, nowhere to the same level, blah, 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 and, the seductress, vampire queen, like, that could be good, but apparently the focus isn't on the relationship, but because she's too busy, thinking about a possible relationship with Sky, who is a man who tried to force himself on her 5 chapters in. I see why, yeah, no, apparently a lot of the focus is on the men in the universe, especially the one who tries to assault her. Also, apparently, and I quote this one review, heavy on older thinking, like, virginal purity, and passion makes men rapey. You know, I'm not, I'm good. No, we're just quitting here. We're quitting my redhead. I'm going to figure out what the 5th and final book for this one is going to be. I do not know. I have many options. But that could be a future me thing. Goodbye. Maybe I'll make some tea and go to bed at normal time. I say that. It's not even 9 p.m. yet. I've just been going to bed at 2 a.m. recently. Okay, so who finished the last book for this vlog, which is Playing for Keeps by Alexandria Bulford? I can't. Listen. Okay, I didn't update you partially through because I knew I should have DNF'd it pretty early on. But, like, one of my main issues was fixed. Like, there was a whole character arc aspect with it. It's a character arc. We'll talk about it. Anyways, this one I got because the publisher emailed me. I assume it's because from everything I saw, this one wasn't getting as much hype, comparison to a lot of her other books, especially her sapphic contemporary romances, right? And the previous two, Truly Madly Deeply, I believe, and then the Fiancé Farce. I had requested both of those on NetGalley previously and got denied. So I think I was just like somebody with a little bit of social media presence who had shown interest in her books before, and it wasn't getting as many eyes, so they went, hey, we'll give it to you. Please read it. And I did, and I'm giving it 2 stars. And I know I should have DNF'd it. This follows Poppy and Rosalind. Technically, technically it's like a workplace romance, and we'll talk about that whole aspect, because that whole aspect is the main reason why I don't like this book. But part of the aspect of it being workplace romance is that Rosalind's been working in this field for much longer, and she's kind of like an expert in the field, and Poppy feels like she knows nothing, and whatnot. And so, when very quickly Rosalind just starts speaking down to her, and either blaming her for things, by assuming that it's her fault, or making her feel dumb, and like she doesn't know what she's doing, and then she overcompensates and whatnot. That is like in the first chapter or two, and it was really bothering me. And then like by chapter 5, Rosalind like apologizes, and it's like this whole thing. Okay, it's like whatever, which is why I continued, despite the fact that the other main aspect of this book, despite the fact that this is supposed to be a sapphic romance between a bi woman, and a lesbian. Like 60% of this book is actually the romance between their bosses. So they're both celebrity publicists. Poppy is a publicist for her childhood best friend Cash, who is the new quarterback of a football team, right? And Rosalind has been the publicist for a famous singer, famous pop singer, Lyric Aldair, I think, for years, like almost a decade at this point, right? So like, and then Cash and Lyric start dating, and so then Poppy and Rosalind have to spend more time together, because they're both their publicists, and that's like an important thing, right? Their relationship is all in publicity. Also, Lyric's coming out with a new album. They're going to Super Bowl. Like, it's this whole thing. So they have to spend time together, and then they start. Right? That is the basic plot. But it's so noticeable, so fast. I quickly went to the reviews to see if other people caught this, and yeah, the Cash and Lyric aspect is so Taylor Swift and Kelsey Travis coded. Like it's heavy. It's heavy. I will say that, but if like Kelsey Travis was also Buck from 911. And I did see a review where someone called Cash Buckley coded from 911, and I went, haha, that's kind of funny and accurate. And then a lot of this is social media, which that's another thing. I don't like social media if it's a big part of the books. Which is, as you can imagine, a big part of this book. A lot of the chapters start with either a news article or well, publicity article, or a social media post, or a bunch of social media posts. Which I know mine was an art version, so the layout was like all wonky and things were not done well that way. So I'm just gonna blame that on it being an arc, okay? Okay. But one of the handles of somebody, I think on Twitter, though it calls it X in the book, one of the handles was Evan Buckley Stan 98. It happened, the same handle was used multiple times, like they were in the book multiple times, to the point where I memorized that, and then I laughed the first time because I remembered that review. And so I know she watches 911. Listen, I'm only like a few episodes into season 6, but I know what happens in season 6. I know what happens to Buck in season 6. Listen, did I start watching just because I learned that it happens in season 6? Yes. Yeah, no, it's clear that she watches it, and she kind of made Cash very Buckley coded, but they made the whole relationship Travis and Taylor coded. And so because the setup of their relationship is based off of these two, like this heteronormative couples relationship. I'm not gonna say straight couple because Cash is bisexual as well. But their relationship, heteronormative relationship, is the whole reason why they even are talking to each other, let alone in a relationship. So, as expected, as soon as the book started, and I was like 3 chapters in, and I started clocking what was happening, I was like, oh, what's gonna happen is, because very early on, Rosalind, like, makes this whole thing where, like, goes off on Poppy about how if anything happens between, Lyric and, Cash, how that will, blah, 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 blah. She's been through enough in her relationships, dating shitty guys, but of course, he's a golden retriever, he's Evan Buckley from 911, so he's a golden retriever, right? But it was like that whole thing, and there's this whole speech involved, and I, in my head, went, oh, this is like chapter 2. I went, oh, something's gonna happen where they break up, and somehow it's Cash's fault, but like it's not actually his fault, but everyone blames him, and because of that, and because they both stand with their own person, like Rosalind helped. I think it's called emancipation when you separate from your parents. Helped to Lyric with that when she was 16 and moved her into her house and basically raised her as like an older sister to a younger sister type situation, right? So like. That's their dynamic, and Cash and Poppy have been childhood best friends, right? And so, like, clearly they're gonna stand by their own person in the relationship, which is gonna break them up. I clocked that in chapter 2. So when that happened, I was rolling my eyes. The why the Cash and Lyric breakup happened, all I'm going to say about that is it becomes very anti-AI out of nowheres for like the last 2 to 3 chapters, which like as somebody who is also anti-AI, I was just sitting there like, yeah, okay. But it was very sudden, and then they catch the bad guy, cough cough, kind of obviously that was due. Everything's fixed. The end. They're all together and they're little couples at the end. But yeah, no, essentially their whole entire relationship is based off of their relationship. And so the sapphics weren't even the focus in the book. Like, yeah, it's Poppy's POV, but most of the book is about Cash and Lyric's relationship and whether or not their relationship is going good affects whether or not Poppy and Rosalind's relationship is going good. Like, as their relationship was at their best point, they were like actually planning to move in together. Like, right? And that makes me feel a little icky. So like the social media aspect, that whole aspect, that weird Travis Kelce Taylor Swift fanfic that was happening, that was like 60% of the book. And all that made it 2 stars. Also, this was not her best book. I've read, I think, a full-on novel, only one full-on novel by her, but I did really like it. So I was disappointed, and let down, and 2 stars. Oh god, I just realized I was going through every single one I read in this video. I think Treachery of Swans is the best one, which is sad because that was such a letdown for me. Oh, I feel, ow, that hurts. This is why I haven't read any arcs, because this is my curse. The only arcs that I have really liked that I've read in the past 2 years are ones that like I've read from the author before and I knew that I would really, really love. Or trust I would really, really love. There's like one other that I hadn't read from before, but I trust I would really like it, and I did. And that was the only witchy romance I've enjoyed. Anyways, speaking of witchy romance, next Wednesday video, I'm gonna be reading the sequel of that book. Not the one that was in this one, but the witchy romance actually, like, that I think was in the intro of this video so many months ago, like 6 months ago. Wild. Anyways, yes, any other new stuff, me stream Twitch a lot, link below. Wednesdays are gaming videos, which are slightly edited down versions of me doing gaming streams. So you need to do whatever with that. Saturdays are book videos like this one. Next week's is me doing more finishing of series, but they're new releases that have like in the past like 3 months have come out. Let me tell you, one of those I really liked. So yeah, no, that's that. Also, I think, was it Curse of Wings and Darkness? Or Curse of Blood and Sight? Yeah, that was one that could be in either one of these videos. And I ended up putting in this one because, you know, whatever. It had to come out first. But yeah, that's next week's video. That's everything. I think I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe and do all that stuff. I'm gonna go. I have to do dishes. It's almost 9 p.m. and I have to go do dishes. I'm gonna do that. Goodbye. Until the next video.